Greetings, folks. Sealer here. Today I have a very special replay, and it's special for a couple of reasons. This is a match that was played back in early February on 090, which unfortunately I had misplaced and forgotten about, but thankfully the player who played this match reminded me this week here in mid-June that I had this replay, and thanks to my somewhat neurotic efforts to keep previous versions of World of Warships, I was able to watch and capture this replay on 090. But more importantly, the reason this replay is special is because I'm going to bring in that player who is going to help me with the commentary on this match. So I'm very pleased to introduce my very good colleague, Jimijaz. Greetings, Jimmy, and welcome to the channel.
Hello, and thanks for having me come into the commentary.
All
Uh,
right, so I think we were going to have you walk us through what your thought process was in this game.
uh, yeah, so every once in a while, I can't remember exactly what was happening, but I'm by myself, which is incredibly rare. I usually don't play outside of a division of competent teammates, and this match probably follows one of the times when a CV got the best of me in a previous match, and I felt the need to go beat up on airplanes. So I took the best boat at the time to that beats up on airplanes, at least in the current meta, before the Pan-European DDs got released. So I this is a Friesland with basically a full DD Hunter build. I have RPF, uh, and well, you saw the build, but at the beginning of the match, the only thing I see is Shores that is basically YOLOing in. And uh, as anybody will tell you, there's old captains and bold captains, but there's no old bold captains. And this guy clearly thought he was going to, make his mark on uh, a tier 9 destroyer, and he didn't really do it.
Well, yeah, that's true. But also, I think at this point, you're being contested and you know it's not the cruiser and the
Yeah,
cap.
I knew there was a DD in there, and of course you see the torps coming. I
Right.
knew it was one DD at least, and what I didn't know at the time that you will soon see is there's two DDs in the cap because there's two sets of torps that'll come up out.
Right.
But the my team's helping me beat this guy up too. But there's the Sims, and then you see a Jervis.
So you got
At
some
which
serious
point
competition here.
I need to, even though these are only tier 7 DDs, I need to kind of skedaddle, reposition, and rethink how I'm gonna come in here because I'm not. The one thing I hate to do is leave a cap uncontested, and I don't like giving up a cap even if it's to two DDs. The Friesland, I'm kind of picturing the development phase of this boat in the game when these two Russian developers are talking to each other, and they basically say, "Yuri, we must develop boat for a European line that can contest caps at tier 9 for free XP, and but it can't have torpedoes." So, so we give machine guns, and that's what they did. This thing has as it's spec, it has a 1.6 second gun reload, which is basically a floating machine gun,
Got it.
and I really enjoy playing it as such. It's not as I mean, you could get the reload even lower than that. I think you can get it down to like 1.5 or 1.4 or something crazy.
Right. Well, you're not running BFT, nor are you using the main battery modification 3 upgrade, which would be the two
Yep.
things to improve its reload. So you
It
did take,
doesn't.
yeah.
It's very incremental.
Right. Oh, yeah, because the reload is already so short that
Yeah.
getting a 10% gain isn't going to add a whole lot.
Right.
Now, you did take down the shores, and it looks like you're going to finish off the Sims here. Maybe somebody else grabs the Sims. I don't remember. But it's going to be you. So that's your second
Yeah.
kill for the game. So what's your thought process at this point? Because you, like you said, you don't
Well,
like giving up a cap for free.
my Hydra's on cooldown. The CV thus far hasn't messed with me, which was disappointing. Although the Jervis is getting in some free shots, which I wasn't real happy about. But it happens. At least there wasn't a radar boat or the CV itself just lighting me up. But I knew that in 35 seconds I was going to go back in and punch this guy in the face. So I just had to stay alive until then. I traded a little health there, but not enough to really screw with how I was going to approach the cap, even though he had me lit. This guy out to text me by what, 100 meters? Or that was the Sims. It's the Sims, isn't it?
No, you killed the Sim. So
No, this is the
yes, it,
Jervis.
it is the
Yeah.
Jervis. Yeah, and he dropped his smoke again. But your Hydro's just about to go off cooldown, and you've got one of the best Hydros at tier. Certainly of destroyers within the
Oh
game. So
yeah, yeah. It's god tier. There's not. I mean, does the Z46 have 5.5? I think that's what I was worried
no,
about
as
going
five
into this
as
game.
five. So yeah.
Yeah, and this guy, he rolls up, and it's like, man, I'm gonna unzip you. There's nobody backing him up. There's nobody. I don't need any backup. I just laid into him,
Right.
and he got close enough to smoke spot me, but then he just faded away. And that was it. He was just done for. My gunnery could have been a little better, but I can certainly say that adrenaline sometimes makes you a little wonky as far as aiming your guns. And this is the point where I look at the mini map and it's like, okay, I'm going to get this cap, but who's left alive? I've got an AFK Nagato in the back. Our Lexington is acting like a floating air base, and uh, the rest of their team is off in the south. So it's time to start capping and back capping. And I wasn't sure if I needed to go deal with the Kagero at B or just start heading south. So the CV was really harassing that Freddie, and I thought I'd at least come over and try and give him some AA support. But I had to get the cap. Caps win games, and I can't emphasize that enough. If you get caps, you will win games. And leaving caps uncontested in a DD is a, a big crime to me. I hate it. It just drives me insane to see other DDs do that when I'm not playing a DD.
Well, we'll have to keep an eye on Jimmy's capping here because that's the first solo cap without spoiling things too much here. So yeah, it looks like you're able to get the carrier's gotten outside your AA cover. Now, you've lit up another ship here. Oh, you've actually detected the carrier here briefly.
Yeah, that's never a good thing.
No.
I don't, we have kind of a standing rule to not CV hunt, but he was in the way of us capping. I looked back to see if that Nagato was moving, and he wasn't. So I realized he was just gonna be a damage pinata later in the game to take people's attention off of me.
Now, I thought it was interesting at this point you elected not to go over to Bravo to contest the Kagero. What was your thought process there of
Well,
going
the
toward, I guess, Delta instead of towards
I was trying to
Bravo?
support a teammate, and I was also wanting to take cap points away from the red team. So, and back capping them was my first initial thought, but the fact that the CV was parked in there, snug as a bug in a rug, uh, I'm always real hesitant. Even, I mean, this is at the time that this was made. This is the best AA destroyer in the game, and I still had trepidation. And I had both AA mods on this thing. It wasn't fully AA spec, but it was darn close. And I was still reluctant to go after this guy. And I probably should have just gone for it because he ended up uh, getting at least one decent drop on me. I'll spoil it a little bit, but I just I'm really reluctant to go after CVs when they're more interested in dropping. I mean, especially when they're flying torp bombers, they're more interested in dropping battleships than destroyers because the torps are super easy to miss. And I was really worried that CAG was going to come over until my RPF just totally focused on the carrier. I knew I was going to get at least a free shot at capping their only cap.
Right, and it looks like your carrier is actually doing a pretty good job. Well, he was doing a pretty good job helping to reset the Kagero, but it was actually the Zara that was in Bravo
Yep.
that got the kill with torpedoes, and the Italian torps are slow. So that was a pretty
Yeah,
lucky
man.
strike.
It's- I just started playing that line, and I'm always amazed when I get a torpid off those things. It's
Right.
just they're sea mines.
So now it's just you and the carrier effectively, because like you said, the Nagato is still AFK. And there's
Yeah,
the strike that probably you were mentioning earlier. That
yeah,
was
he
pretty
gets
good
about
hit.
half my health. But if you look, I hit DF, redid my sector, and 811 planes. So he wasn't getting that squadron back anytime soon. The problem is that he's going to bring bombers. So, and at least I'm not shooting a British carrier, because there would be so many more bounces on an armored British carrier than it would be on the Lexington.
So is there a
And
particular place that you're aiming for when you're shooting at the
the
Lexington
stern,
here?
yeah, I'm just aiming at the stern. You can sometimes hit the conning tower, but it's not a real guarantee. So if you aim a little low, you hit the stern and you get fires and damage from that. But if I'd been on the side of him, if I'd had him broadside, I probably would have just switched to AP. But he was just running away, and his uh, air wing was still actively hovering over me. Why he wasn't going after our carrier is beyond me. But I guess he thought he was fighting for his life.
Well, you are, like you said, you are a machine gun, right? And you are
Yep.
able to get some reasonably reliable pens provided you're aiming at the right spots. Now, I'm assuming you're staying in the smoke here just to guarantee that you get the cap for your team. Is
I'm
that right?
constantly moving in the smoke, because any CV driver worth their salt will drop as much of that smoke as they possibly can. And I didn't want to be that guy that stood still. And even though there was no plane spot, he might have been able to spot me if the planes had been spotted. But as it was, there was no way he was going to spot me in that smoke unless my AA was going off, because I couldn't see him to shoot. And you can see I'm bouncing and shattering and on his deck. And even a U.S. carrier's armored deck will bounce at 120 pretty handily. But you get enough into them, you throw enough crap at the wall, eventually something's going to stick.
Right. And here you are hitting the conning tower, and that's what finishes off the carrier.
Yep.
All right, so you've brought it to a 3-on-2. The Nagato did go down, and you lost your allied Ismo up at Alpha, and it looks like your carrier still has some planes in the air. But what's your thought process at this point? Headed for Bravo, I assume.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. It's ring around the rosy at this point. If as long as one of those cruisers doesn't come back or battleships doesn't come back, I'm just gonna keep following him around, backcapping him. He left up fighters for me to eat to try and keep me spotted, and hopefully that that uh, their fleet that's lemming training around will get some free shots at me, and it just wasn't going to happen. And there's the air defense expert. It's always a good feeling. I shall hang the corpses of their airplanes in my Danish Viking long haul.
Well, it's Dutch, but yes, or
Yeah.
yeah, from the Netherlands. Yeah, I'm with you.
So I'm
So,
just this is probably a slow section, but I had to be really careful. I only had 3,300 HP left, and I thought that Battlestat Synop was coming back, and I was like, I the only thing that saved me was the fact that CV dropped him, and he had to turn into the torps, or he felt like he had to turn into the torps, and I basically at this point I just wanted to sail in, get the cap, and hope that these guys would just keep moving into uh, sea, and I could contest it there a little bit. I wasn't gonna. I mean, the one thing that this CV did was kind of misposition right here,
oh,
and
your CV, yeah, where
yeah,
he is.
RCV, he parked in possibly the worst spot you can park, and you can see he's starting to go backwards. But I thought this guy's going to be dead, and I'm going to end up not getting a solo warrior against three dudes instead of four. And that it just well, where are we right there? It's 557 to 488. It's really close. I mean, it's a
Right.
super tight game. And I just wanted to just try to keep it. I wanted to try and increase the point differential. And I had to at least keep capping to make sure that the point differential was going to stay that way. So we were always up. We always had two caps.
Yeah, in fact, this is going to be your third solo cap once you get this right here.
Yeah, nothing gets you XP like capping and killing planes. And boy, I kind of miss that. I used to fly or sail a bunch of AA spec boats before the great nerf of 2019, and they were very effective in situations like this.
All right, so again, more Ring Around the Rosie headed for Alpha. It
Yeah,
looks
the
like here.
Synop is what seems like the only guy who could, find his rear end with both hands, and he was coming in to that cap after me. He knew that, one of them knew that capping wins games, and I was hoping to cap A and then just go back and recap. Was it C again? Is it A B
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
or
Charlie. Yeah,
Charlie? Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and it just the I didn't realize what was happening with our CV, but the Ismo was playing, as Jingles calls it, chasey chasey catchy catchy around the island, and he was going backwards the entire time.
Hmm.
And I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to pay attention to this synop to see, because he's blind firing,
Right, he
and
knows you're in the cap,
he
right?
knows I'm in there.
And then, of course, you do the cheeky thing, which is just as you're about to slip behind the island, you get a shot in. But it
Yeah,
looks like the Poltava does have you lit now.
yeah, he got me lit, and then I'm just glad that guy was on a reload, because otherwise I would have been toast. And all three of them, that Ismo's sailing behind that island, and he's aiming at me.
Right, and you were actually quite lucky there because the Sinop did get a shell on you, and
Oh
then the
yeah,
Poltava fired on you.
yeah,
Thankfully, the Poltava fired. And for folks who are unaware, this is a practice. Looks like you're going to get your Kraken here. Yep, there you go.
yeah,
Nice. This is a practice, folks, that is not uncommon among destroyer players to bait a large ship like a battleship or a cruiser, fire at them just as they're going into smoke, as the destroyer's going into smoke, and the battleship or the cruiser will remain detected for 20 seconds, even though you go off detection in the smoke screen. And can be a good way to bait a low health target into revealing or staying detected while you are able to fire at them freely. So you're up to Kraken. Looks like you're gonna get your. Oh, you do have your fourth cap here, and here comes another blind fire.
yeah. He was really good at if you watch that. If your viewers will rewatch that, you'll see that that Synop was incredibly accurate blind firing, and the only reason he had that much dispersion was that he wasn't locked on,
Right,
and
right,
that was that was the scary part.
right. Now you've had one of your teammates has just typed in the chat for you to run. You have a comment about that?
Oh yeah, heck yeah, man! I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I had 716 HP, which is 715 more than I needed to win, and I skedaddled. But that's at the point where I looked at the mini map and I saw the carrier and the Ismo almost right on top of each other. And what could they possibly be doing? And I'm hoping that there's some clarity at the end of this.
Well, there is. So I encourage folks to stay on because I do capture the last couple of minutes in an accelerated replay of those two ships and kind of their dance at the end of the video. So I encourage folks to stay on for that. But here we are winding down to the last few seconds. Again, the Sinop is blind firing into the cap.
Yeah,
He knows that this is his only chance to try to kill you.
see, he cleared that island, and he knew that as soon as he got spotted, he had a line on where I was. he didn't know exactly what direction I was going, but that was a smart player. And if I fire on him now, I'd be well. That was the very end of the match. I saw that coming, so I thought I'd do a cheeky one.
All right, and so this is the part of the little dance between the carrier and the Ismo. And the Ismo looked like he was firing HE, and then the Lexington tried to get a ram in. They just ended up chasing each other. So
could we have lost that? I didn't see.
No, I think you still would have won. So
yeah.
But in any case, a very impressive result, Jimmy. Over 1 million credits, 42 planes shut down, over 3,100 base XP, even though you had an AFK ship. So very well done. Thank you very much for sharing this with us.
Yeah, that's what killing planes will get you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, well, I hope everybody did enjoy the replay and the commentary. Thank you again, Jimijaz, for joining us and sharing this match. And with that, we hope to see you out there in the virtual seas, and we wish you happy sailing.